Hello everyone, it's Sandra here and we are looking at Eat My Shorts. Let's go take a look at this magnolia leaf, see if my secret weapon of bin critters is making a dent on the magnolia. All right, so let's take a look and see our leaf right away. Going for the magnolia here. Actually, there were several leaves in here. Here they are. Here's the bright green new ones. There's my little army of worms at it. Go, guys, go. So these are the new magnolias. Okay. Okay, we got interest. Now let's look at the dried magnolia leaves. Peggy, I don't know. Okay, that's pretty cool. And there were two of them. Here's the other one. This one's smaller. It's got worm action. So, our magnolia leaves, they're still intact. There's no sign of even ragged edges or anything. So, the pill bugs, I would assume the pill bugs start eating from the edges. I mean, their teeth, they can't start eating in the middle of this shiny, thick leaf. They're going to have to start eating around the edges. So this test might go on a while. Now, so what I'm going to do is I didn't do a total bin fluff last time, I don't believe. So I'm going to just stir in these drier corners. Remember, we didn't do a total bin harvest on February 15th, I think I harvested. So it's exactly a month ago. I've just opened up another avocado pit. So it wasn't a total harvest. So this is why you see so many castings in here, even though it was just harvested 4 weeks ago. So this bin will turn over really quickly because of that. So I've got this big cumbersome waistband here. All these leaf stems from feeding natural products, but I leave them in the bin. Not only it's carbon, it's slow carbon, but it also is biodiversity. There's bacteria and fungi and protozoa on those leaf stems that are not going to be found on cardboard, that are not going to be found on foodstuffs. They're leaves. They've been produced by trees whose roots go down into soil that hasn't seen the light of day for many, many thousands of years. So leaves are made of different stuff, which is why they're so valuable, I think, in a worm bin. All right, what is this little interested party going on? This is one of those paper clumps. I told you that, we don't like paper clumps. But the worms do. Worms like paper clumps. They're moist, and it'll go too fast. I might see it on the replay. But not only were there worms in that little paper clump, there's still one left in there. I knocked the other ones out, I think. But there was a cocoon laid in there. So that means when the cocoon matures, the little wisps will be in a nice moist environment in all likelihood. Not that the worms intentionally put cocoons there. Worms do not have intention. Worms have instinct. But they don't know that they're laying their cocoon in a safe place or not. It just happens to be where the cocoon comes off. All right. So I have more food for these worms. And we're going to do what we did last week. We're going to open the middle. So make an incision in the opening of the bin. We're going to take our magnolia leaves, the target of our contest between Florida worms and Victoria, British Columbia worms. There we go. Go for it, worms. So first, I put some new bedding on. It's just a mix of my paper cardboard scraps. And then I put my food on. It's just a mix of my food scraps, which most of the time avocado peels, banana peels, lots of tea leaves. I'm a tea drinker. I see some larger pieces in here, so obviously I didn't puree it all the way in the blender. I see some pepper seeds, which means there's probably at least a pepper. This looks like a banana stem that came through the blender. Sometimes I don't pulse it all the way, and that will just give a mixture of slow and fast food, and also slow and fast moisture. When food isn't pulsed all the way, it releases its moisture more slowly. Same amount of moisture in the food. So if you put a banana in your bin, you're going to get the same amount of moisture whether you open it up and puree it or you put it in whole. Same amount of moisture. The only difference is how long it's going to take for that moisture to get into the bin. And presumably, if it's slow moisture, some of it would evaporate before it did get released into the bedding. I've got a little bit more. Then I have a secret weapon. I already have the pill bugs in here. Because I'm getting ready to harvest Gilligan, I'm thinking, why not put some of Gilligan's worms in Eat My Shorts and let these guys and, ooh, some of these cocoons, ooh, look at Gilligan's cocoons. Let some of them go after those magnolia leaves. All right, so away we go with Gilligan's worms. Now, this isn't all of Gilligan's worms. He has like 10,000 worms in him. But this is just what I picked out today in the dying rays of the afternoon. I thought, you know, I'm just going to pick out a few worms whenever I've got some spare time. And I'm just going to move them into Eat My Shorts and maybe Peekaboo. Because when we harvest Gilligan, we sift and we catch a lot of the worms in the sifting, but we don't catch all of them. And sifting is a harsh physical process for worms to go through. If I can avoid it by moving worms as I see them, as I'm in the bin, if I can avoid it by just moving these worms into a safe location without putting them through the mechanics of sifting, I will. So I've got a few days on my side here. So this is just, yeah, this is just what I found with my first go through today. Now I will make sure there are no more worms in that bin. So that's my secret weapon. I'll put their little piece of newspaper again on top. And then I will pull this material over. And so that's my Magnolia check-in and my addition of Gilligan's worms as a secret weapon. And I'm going to continue to do that with the next feeding of Eat My Shorts, because this bin can take a lot of worms. So before I sign off, I'm just inserting this little bit to say it's a couple of days later and we are continuing to assess Gilligan for harvest. So I'm not going to disturb Eat My Shorts feeding zone, but I am going to give Eat My Shorts more of Gilligan's worms, and I'm hoping you can see, if I just hold still for a moment, you can see that there are plentiful cocoons that I pulled out of Gilligan. And, you know, every day I go into Gilligan, I take the lid off, I just grab some obvious worms in a feeding zone, and I've been adding them to bins. And why I want to add them to Eat My Shorts is I just harvested Eat My Shorts. So I don't want to put these worms in a bin that I'm going to harvest in a month. There's cocoons in here. So Eat My Shorts, not only did I just harvest it, so the worms are going to be in here for a while, but the cocoons are going to be able to mature without, again, having to go through a harvest. And Eat My Shorts, its job, in addition to producing great castings for me, is to be a repository of worms for Gilligan. It's a massive tote system. And so as I pull out Gilligan's worms, they will go into here. And when we empty Gilligan and we reset him again a few days later, I will be pulling worms. I'll be pulling 90% of the contents out of Eat My Shorts, and it will go to restock Gilligan, and along with will go a lot of these worms. And before I totally sign off on this video, more of Gilligan's worms and cocoons, this time pulled from some castings that are going out to our strawberry garden today. So lots of worms still in the castings that I was baiting out, lots of cocoons. So these also will just go into Eat My Shorts as a holding area until we restock Gilligan. So I'll invert both these trays in case there are wisps in there. There were a lot of cocoons, which means a lot of wisps. Don't want to try scooping them all out. I suppose I could rinse the containers, but that would put a lot of water in the system. Not worried about the worm on top there. He will find his way out. All right, and with that, I am signing off from Eat My Shorts for this check-in.